Okay, now it's time for our top fives. Obviously, this week we're talking about comic book movies, so we're going to go with our top 5 comic book movies. So let's get straight into it, Dave, and reveal what we had, both of us, at number 5. Interesting. So I had Persepolis, which is a animated film straight from a graphic novel about a young girl who lives in Iran just before the Islamic Revolution, and she's kind of non-traditional. She likes punk rock music, and she kind of rebels against the system. And I think it's just it's one of those films. I think everybody should see it. It's such a good story and animation, and it's got a really good message. Have you ever seen it?
I haven't. That sounds really interesting.
Well, then you missed that lecture in college, because that's where I seen it. They showed it us on the course, but maybe you weren't taking that module.
I might not have done that module, maybe.
But yeah, I thought Persepolis was really good.
Either that or I was in the bar.
Yeah, probably were in the bar, propping it up. But yeah, if you haven't seen it, check it out. It's really good.
I've obviously chosen Guardians of the Galaxy here. It's actually probably my favourite of the Marvel ones. I think it's zany and packed with so many cultural references. I think it's really great fun, really great film. And it's got my favourite Dave Bautista in it. So,
Dave Bautista's character is just so funny. I didn't really know about Guardians of the Galaxy beforehand, even though I'm a kind of a comics book fan, but I didn't really know much about them. So when the movie came out, I just let it pass me by. But then other people were saying, "Oh, check it out, it's really funny." And then I watched the trailer, and I seen Dave Bautista in the trailer, and I was like, "Oh, I've got to watch that. It looks so funny, hilarious." And the second one was quite good as well. Okay, so let's have a look at what we had at number 4. Open the doors. Interesting. So Spider-Man 2 for me. Loved the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans. Felt like Spider-Man 2 was the best film of the 3. Had the great Alfred Molina as Doc Ock, and the continuation of the thread between Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker and Kirsten Dunst's Mary Jane. Really enjoyed it. Thought it was a really good sequel, one of the best sequels I've ever seen, and yeah, that's why I had a number 4.
And I obviously had Logan, which, as mentioned earlier, I think is the best of the X-Men films. I think Hugh Jackman plays a really great character study in this one as Wolverine, and obviously it's set after all the events many years later, and it's a much more deeper kind of emotional film, I think, which is a much more interesting story.
And you've got the great Patrick Stewart as well as an ailing Professor X.
Yeah, quite a tragic version of Professor X, really, in the whole kind of losing his mind element of it. It's quite sad, really, but plays it brilliantly, as he always does.
Okay, so let's take a look at what we had for our number 3 picks. Spider-Man 2 for you, and the Joker for me. Or Joker, I should say. Anything to add about Spider-Man 2?
Well, yeah, I mean, just obviously it's the best of those 3. I think the Sam Raimi films were the best ones for Spider-Man, and I think the second one was the best of the trilogy. It took the really great stuff from the first film and it went a lot deeper with it, a lot more emotional. There's more focus, and it's just a great story. It's a great film, really enjoyable. Just as you say, it's the best Spider-Man film that's been produced, in my opinion. Yeah,
I agree. It's a really good one. And yeah, I chose Joker because I was blown away by that film. I thought, the irony being with this, that Martin Scorsese was one of the executive producers as well. But there are a lot of similarities with it and his earlier film, The King of Comedy. They've got kind of a similar thread. If you took away all of the dressage and everything on each film, you've basically got the same story about a nobody that has aspirations to become, one of the greatest comedians in the world, and ends up doing, psychopathic and wild things an attempt to try and realize his dreams. But Joaquin Phoenix, I thought, just gave such a great performance. When they announced that they were going to do it, we're both big fans of the Heath Ledger incarnation of the Joker, and I thought they're really trying to, get blood out of a stone here with doing another version of the Joker. They're trying to cash in on it. But when I watched it and I realized what kind of film it was, I thought it was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant film.
It is an absolutely amazing film. I actually struggled with whether to put it on this list, and I ended up not, because of whether it's a comic book movie. It's one of them debates that people have had.
And I ended up not. How is it not a comic book movie?
I think it is.
Okay, that's fine. Let's move forward. Anyone who says it isn't a comic book movie is on crazy pills.
Well, it's just, I think it's a tremendous film, absolute tremendous film. I think it's one of the best ones of last year, really. But I didn't end up putting it here. But very good performance and a very dark film.
Yeah, it was. It was really heavy, actually. I wasn't prepared for quite how heavy it was going to be, but there was also moments to laugh out loud as well, where he's in the hospital and he's clowning around for the sick kids and the gun flies out onto the floor when he's dancing about. He's, I ripped up laughing at that. I thought it was hilarious. Okay, let's have a look at our number 2 picks. Ooh. Both sequels, both from the DC universe. You have gone with Batman Returns. I have picked Superman 2. Superman 2, very much like Spider-Man 2, for me, is my personal favourite of that original series of films. It's got really great bad guys. Terrence Stamp as General Zod, Kneel before Zod, all of that stuff. Really cool. Superman has actually got to fight people that have got powers just like him, so it kind of normalizes him in a way. He's, we've talked about Superman in one of our previous podcasts, and you said, "Oh, he's invincible, he can't be beat, and he's infallible." Well, in this film, there's 3 people with exactly the same sort of powers as him. They can fly, they got ultimate strength, they got the laser vision, and they got all this stuff going on, and they're hell-bent on taking him down. So that makes for a fantastic movie there. Not only that, but he also chooses to lose his powers, so he literally becomes immortal, a mortal man that can be, that bleeds, that can be destroyed, and in a twist of events that end up, with him regaining his powers and taking on the bad guys. I just love it. I think Superman 2 is just one of my, favorite comic book movies of all time. But I know how you feel about the Superman movie, so I'm not going to ask your opinion because you probably haven't even seen it. So why don't you tell me why you chose Batman Returns?
I think out of the original 4 Batmans from the 90s, I think Batman Returns is the strongest one.
Really?
Although, obviously, the Joker from the first one is fantastic with Jack Nicholson. I think out of all 4 of them, in terms of the whole story, the whole tone, I think Batman Returns is the best one. Danny DeVito, of course, is the Penguin, and Catwoman, Michelle Pfeiffer.
She is brilliant in it. And you got Christopher Walken as well.
Christopher Walken, yeah.
Bruce Wayne, why is dressed like Batman?
But I think Tim Burton finally managed in that one to really bring out the brooding, dark atmosphere that we really wanted. It was a much more heavy film. It was about the kind of tormented hero that we got to experience properly, really, in the Dark Knight trilogy much later.
Yeah.
But this was kind of the first taste of this is how Batman should be, you know. And tremendous film.
Very well said. Unfortunately, you're wrong about it being the best Batman film because Batman 1966 is the best Batman film. Anyway, let's have a look at our number 1 choices. Take them away. Oh, we got a match!
Hey, it's a match.
Of course, it's a match. It's The Dark Knight. It's the greatest ever comic book film ever made. Not only because of the old adage of Heath Ledger's Joker being the most fantastic thing anyone has ever seen ever. You got this great story of conflict of love there with the love triangle between Harvey and Bruce and Rachel, and the stakes are higher. Even the mob's even scared of the Joker. You got all this great stuff. and all done, as we've discussed before, in a world that is plausible. It's all, you can believe it all. There's nothing too super about any of it, even though it's still ridiculous. I mean, it's a rich guy who trains himself to, become this Batman, and he's got all these really, access to all these great tanks and vehicles and all this weaponry and stuff. It's obviously far-fetched, but it is done much more plausibly than, say, for example, the MCU that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. I think that's it's the reality of it, the grittiness of it, the placating of it. I mean, obviously, it's a much more like a crime mob film. It's a huge kind of saga piece, really, with the best villain and the best portrayal of that villain on screen. There's nothing better than someone who just doesn't care, about the consequences. It's one of Nolan's best work. It's up there with Inception. It's dark, it's complex, and the biggest thing is it's unforgettable.
Yeah.
I remember going and watching that film. I watched it about 3 times in 1 week at the Pictures.
Yeah.
But I remember going and seeing that film and thinking, I want to make a film like this.
Yeah, I think it had a massive effect on a lot of people, especially of your generation who were quite youngsters when they saw it. I remember being at sort of acting sessions with youngsters, aspiring actors, and a lot of the kids there just wanted to be Heath Ledger after seeing that performance because, it was so inspiring. It was one of them, wasn't it, when he was first announced that he was going to be the Joker. I think a lot of people thought, what? There's Heath Ledger?
Yeah.
He's not the Joker. But he became, the quintessential Joker. I don't want to kill you. What would I do without you?
It was an interesting one because, I think when he was first announced, I think, as you say, everyone was like, what? That's a very odd choice. And, turns out to be an absolutely inspired casting choice.
In our opinion, yeah. It's a great film. It's good fun. But that's it. That's our top 5s. Tell us your top 5s. Put them in the comments. Tell us what we missed. And, let us know what your favourites were.